Welcome to this episode of the $1 Million Mastermind. I'm Larry Weidel, and before we get started, if you want to know exactly how to win again and again, go to weidelonwinning.com/webinar now to watch something I've put together for you. Now let's get going into this episode of $1 Million Mastermind. I'm here talking with Frances Avrett. And Frances, are you in your home in Jefferson today?
I am. I'm at my home.
And Jefferson, Georgia. And Frances has been sharing a lot of her secrets, her game plans, her methods, her insights, and allowed her to go through one of the most dramatic transformations I think anyone's gone through in their life. From a mother of 5, from 3 to 18 years old, the wife of a farmer and entrepreneur in Georgia, to where all of a sudden she had to, he became disabled and she had to take over running the whole operation, and as well as raising the kids, and wound up shifting gears and wound up getting into another business and took the basics and the fundamentals and the approach that she learned about being successful in other areas, up to that point in her life, applied it to financial services, and has built a organization that expands all over North America, United States, Canada, everywhere really, and still growing fast, as well as her family now has gone from 5 kids to total of grandkids and great grandkids and this, that, and the other. 20, you say 27?
27, yeah.
Unbelievable. And fairly, life did not get simpler for you, Frances. We'll say that.
I'll tell you what, I made it simpler, Larry, by buying that 600 acres and having about 20 miles of roads that they could ride on and be free. And that big lake, and they could fish and hunt and hike and have, live without technology for days and still enjoy life. That made my life a lot easier, because those grandchildren, the whole family just loves that idea, that place, that reality.
Let's just talk for a minute. We talk about doing it and everything, but let's talk about the fun part, the payoff, the things that you have enjoyed, experienced, people you've met, places you've been, how rich your life is now, and how that's been able to go, just like the 600-acre farm is one big thing that you could do, and that for the whole family can enjoy that and benefit from it. But talk about how the payoffs of all this stuff. We talk about the work, but the impact you can make. A lot of people are afraid of big. Like you said, they can't see beyond where they are now. But unless you get off your butt and see beyond where you are now, you're going to shortchange the impact you can have in your life. And so those of y'all listening to this, you got to challenge yourself in a way that you would not allow anybody else to challenge you, and say, am I just cruising here? Or am I kidding myself? Or, am I doing, the things, pursuing the things that I got an interest in, that I think could be great? And am I going after something great? Because if you're not going after something great, you're not going to do anything great. And you could be keeping a lid on the potential of the impact you can make in your life, and the enjoyment you can have in life, fulfillment you can have in your life, the quality you can have in your life. You just don't have those things happen by being a little mouse, hanging inside, watching television all the time, be afraid to open your mouth, be afraid to try something new. You got to get out of yourself. And so, I don't have to tell you to do that. You know how to do that. Meet people, go things, listen to this, that, and the other. And so talk about how your life is expanded in 400 different directions.
Well, as you're talking, as my mind's going a mile a minute, and one of the things that comes to my mind quickly was that while Lee was still alive and was able to do that, we were able to travel around the world. We went to Europe 2 or 3 times. We were able to go to Hawaii a number of times. That was one of our favorite spots, and then since then, of course, I've traveled to every major city in the United States and Canada and gotten to know those cities as if I lived there because I'm building businesses there. I know the country, I know the cities as being a part of it, which changes things. If you're just always the tourist, it's a little different experience than if you have a chance to spend a lot of time in Dana Point, California, or in the northern part of that city, or up in the northern part of the northeastern cities like New York. I was able to go do all of my shopping for my clothes in New York at a very special place and have a special person that would shop for me during the different seasons. Those were just, a reward for myself that was, as a woman, was extremely exciting. And, I could go with my friends to Europe later and spend 2 weeks traveling all over Italy and living in a villa in Tuscany and, seeing that country from at that particular point. I was able to, take my children on incredible trips and get them to spend time with them individually. I got to know my grandchildren as individuals. They're not like 15 people that are a group. Every one of them have uniquenesses, and they know their grandmother and I know them, and we like to talk about the future. I've had a chance because of my experiences to share that with them. And, one of my granddaughters just graduated from college this past June and spent the summer out in Montana at a big ranch working. And she just came back last week and was telling me about, those are things that so many people miss because they stay little in their thinking. And, if you're thinking as little, your children will have little thinking. So I wanted to be the one that expanded the vision. And I did that. And I love to shop. And I tell people, say, well, they don't care about shopping. I said, that's because you don't know where to shop. It's fun to go and, if you like jewelry or if you like fine things, nice stuff. I know you enjoy art. And, you and I've spent some time in Europe together, and I've noticed how it changes the way you look at the world when you have an open mind and a vision to get things done. But you know what, Larry, I couldn't have done that if I hadn't worked hard. I had to keep a heavy schedule. I had to make sure the kids were okay. I had to work when I didn't feel like working. And just like you were talking about earlier on, it didn't matter if I felt like it. What mattered is what would the results be if I didn't do it. And those things can come to, I drive in the kind of cars that you want to drive. I've always loved Jaguars, and I drive the best. And now I'm into Land Rovers, and I do crazy stuff. Like I have a French poodle that's a standard poodle, and she's my diabetic companion. And I bought a Land Rover so she would have a comfortable place to ride to the farm. I mean, it changes the way you look at the world, and it's big. My motto has been build it big, build it fast, and build it to last.
Hey, listen, there's a lot of information online, but there aren't a lot of people who've actually done something. In my case, I've actually built a successful business that's accrued over $5 billion in assets under management and has done well even during trying times. Now, if you want to know exactly how I've done this, go to whiteelmwinning.com/webinar now. I've compressed a decade of learning into 5 short weeks just for those of you who want to give yourself an incredible advantage and are tired of waiting and watching others move up.
How did you talked about when you came in, how did you look at the future, the possibilities? Think about how you did when you were in the mom running the business, when your husband was healthy, and that mentality. And when you went through the survival transition where you had to take responsibility. But how quick did you get the idea in your mind that this could go beyond just surviving now and being the breadwinner to opening up a lot of magical possibilities that you had never thought about before?
Well, I took a look at what what the company would show us that was possible. And again, very simplistic. I played the what if game, because just like everybody else, when things are tough and you're just trying to see beyond next week, it's a little difficult. And I would start to say, well, I don't know. And then I would go into my head and say, okay, but what if this happened? What if it was bigger? What if it was more exciting? How would you feel then? And I would just experience it in my mind while I was driving and while I was resting, or different times during the day. I used visualization, and I could do it because I played the what if game. I had to shut down the negative side of my head, not somebody else's head, because people are always telling you can't do it. People don't ever, they always kind of laugh and look at you funny when you start talking outside of norm. And I wasn't worried about those people. I was worried about Francis not believing it. And so I would say, okay, Francis, well, what if it happens? How's this going to be? And then I would start to live that experience. And but guess what? They all came true. It happened like I could see it. We certainly can't have it if we can't see it.
The thing is, I've done that so much in my life. I remember before I did the first expansion, the expansion up into North Carolina.
Yeah, I remember that.
The whole year in Atlanta before, every morning I woke up and I said, okay, what would I do now if I was in North Carolina? I don't know anybody. I'm on my own. I'm alone. I don't have the big offices supporting me. No one cares if I live or die. What am I going to do? And I had a year in my mind.
That's right.
And so when I did that insane thing that I didn't have the money for and moved my 3 and 5-year-old son and my wife that did not work outside the home, and we moved up there with essentially no money, had to have I had 2 yard sales to sell the junk in our basement to get $750 to rent the U-Haul truck to move up there.
Yeah.
And I had psyched myself up so much. It was not until following year, that was like in November, we did that. It wasn't until March, I'd been up there 3 months, where I woke up in sheer terror in the middle of the night, said, what have I done?
Yeah.
I immediately said, well, you've already done it now, get to work.
Yeah, go do what you said you were going to do in your head.
Yeah. I remembered when I was, back even when, before I moved down to Palm Beach, when I moved to Florida the first time, it was Orlando, and I just never felt comfortable there. And I knew Art and Angela was down in Palm Beach. And I said, I'm going to go down there. I would go down there every time. I'd be like one day in Orlando, I said, I'm going to go down to Palm Beach and look around. So I checked out all of the golf course, all the private courses, and this, that, and the other, and, got the lay of the land. Just what would it feel like to be here? And eventually I just wound up joining all the clubs that Art and Angela were at. I figured they'd done the research.
Yeah.
Why second guess them? But and when I went to out to Colorado, I wanted to get a place in Colorado. I always thought I'd be over at Vail, Beaver Creek, but I would drive over there and like, which house? Okay, it's early in the morning. I'm going to go skiing, drive down the hill and cross and going over here. And eventually I wound up in Aspen because it was a whole lot simpler and better. But plus they got an airport, you can fly right into it, but
Yeah. Big point.
but about the what if, the thing is, sometimes it's good to get around, have people that have meet people that have done things. And I know Rusty Crossan invited me out to a convention to speak at a convention in Aspen in 97. And he said, why don't you move out here? And I said, are you out of your friggin' mind? How would I move to Aspen? And what are you, an idiot? And eventually, but that seed got planted. And so now I live in Aspen and and Palm Beach. And Art and Engine did the same thing. Why don't you move to Palm Beach? And so it's like, what if you start, let some what ifs get into your head. What if? And don't let yourself necessarily be limited by something you haven't even thought about it. You can figure things out if you decide you want to do it. But you ought to be letting yourself think about these things. And so, Francis, this has been fantastic. I hope people start playing the what if game and start thinking about their future and opening the door, because people are going to follow you. And you do have an influence on other people in your life. And you want it to be, the one thing I always said, Francis, to myself as a leader, and when I started a year, this is what I always said. The one thing when this year is over, I don't want I want to make darn sure that we didn't achieve what we could achieve because I was thinking too small. And I never wanted to go to a convention where there was one organization doing all these great things. And my people said, man, that leader's on fire. Their team is on doing this. They're doing that. I wish I was on their team. I wanted everybody to wish they were on my team. And so that comes from the top, that comes from the leader. And when it comes to families, I know there's a whole lot of friends of your grandkids and all wish they were in your family. And glad they're friends enough where they'd probably go out to that 600-acre adventure. So thanks so much, Francis. You have a final word you want to say for
I do, Larry. I want to say that based on what you just finished saying, and as I look over my career and all of the things I was personally able to enjoy that I just described, the thing that was one of my big points on my 12 points was to make sure that the people that wanted it and worked with me could have financial freedom. And today, one of the joys of my life is that we have a team of people that the company pays out well over 30 million a year to my team alone. And we have people who are super wealthy, they're living the dream. I could put just photograph after photograph of the beautiful homes, the cars, the lifestyles, and the businesses they're building that will go on for generations. That's been the whole thing. It's the process has created people who are living a huge dream. And that to me is when you can duplicate what your dreams are and have others do the same thing. That's what this whole thing is all about. So that, the joy of seeing the success of so many of the people I've worked with, even this, even down to the clients. It's
right.
Joy to hear from my clients from the past and how they're living today because they are our client and because we showed them a better way. And
absolutely.
I just can't even tell you what that feels like. I can tell you because you know what it feels like. It is and so when you're working to grow a business, make sure that what's going to end up at the end of the day is going to be as good for the people that are your customers, your retail customers, your wholesale customers, your recruits and your team. And it's just, and people are going to do what they want to do. But the good news is it works and that they're doing it.
Well, I just am disappointed that we don't have this on a video feed so people can see how fantastic you look today. But I want you to know, one of the highlights of my career has been knowing you and the fun we've had together and seeing the impact that you've had in so many people's lives. So it's a privilege, and thanks for sharing.
Same here, Larry. Thank you for having me.
If you enjoyed what you've heard and are dead serious about finding out for yourself exactly how this works in the real world, I've taken the most valuable business lessons I've learned over 40 years and put them into something for you to watch. Go to whiteelemwinning.com/webinar now in order to move up as fast as possible. I'm Larry Weidel, and I run the $1 Million Mastermind. Go, go, go.